Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on the ESPN app, Apple Podcast. Rate us, review us. We like 5 stars. Do not be a hater. Haters are not an especially positive thing to be out here in this world. We got all the basketball, man. Get you ready for the NBA Finals. Talk about how in the world LeBron dragged that sack of squad. I call him a sack of squad. He gets mad when you insult him. But anyway, how he pulled that off, I don't know. But first, the Warriors are, of course, ridiculously talented, and the Warriors have given us a 4-year run of basketball that is up there with any run of 4 years that we have seen. Now, I think that this season, where they finished with the number 2 seed in the West, that if you were an optimistic Warriors fan, then the way you looked at it was it doesn't really matter. All that matters is what happens when they get into the postseason. And there's certainly something to that because they're built in a way where they've got some good things for the postseason. They got a lot of dudes that can play switching defense. They got a handful of guys that can protect the rim, and they got 2 guys who can get their own shot. It's a very important thing to have when the postseason comes around. But if you watch Game 5 and Game 7, I went to Barbados. I missed Game 6. Forgive me. Anyway, Game 5 and Game 7. Game 7 in the first quarter, and really the first half, the Warriors looked like a bunch of dudes who were tired of all of it. Tired of being around each other, tired of being still playing basketball late into May, just tired as it would be reasonable to expect from a team that was going deep into its 4th postseason in the NBA. And I think something that we lose sight of is that we have a lot of great teams throughout history. It's hard to keep that thing going for as long as the Warriors have in the way that they have. Before the Heat went to 4 straight NBA finals from 2011 to 2014, no one had gone to 4 straight since the 84 through 87 Boston Celtics. Magic Johnson's squads with the Lakers went to the finals 9 times in 12 years. They went 82, 83, 84, 85. That time they went 4. That was the only stretch. Like, that's how hard it is to do this. And that, by the way, is the Lakers playing in a decidedly weak Western Conference at that time. It's really hard to pull that off. For the Warriors to pull this off 4 years in a row and to do it from the West is bananas. But at some point, it's going to stop, and it looked like this year was going to be the time that it stopped just because they looked to struggle so much to lock in. Like Steve Kerr talked about this. If the number one thing I say we need to focus on and be locked in on is not fouling, and then we commit 4 fouls in the first 55 seconds, then what does that tell you? It tells me they ain't listening to him, right? They seem to be a little bit tired of being around each other. Of all of this, Kevin Durant is the new piece. The other guys have been around forever, but even Kevin Durant's coming in, and he's doing things in a way that ain't really in line with the way these other cats do things, and you got to keep in mind, Draymond Green feels like he sacrifices his shots for the system. Steph Curry feels like he sacrifices his shots for the system. You're not going to come in from outside the system taking all your shots if you got these other dudes who out here believing that they shutting it down. And they look like they were just wearing down. It looked like it had gotten to be too much. But then you looked at that in the first quarter for the Rockets, man. After Klay Thompson racked up those 3 fouls early, after they were in the bonus for 11 minutes, a whole lot seemed to be set for the Rockets to like come out of that up by like 15, 20 points. And I don't even think that's an exaggeration because I understand that 15 and 20 points is a lot to be up by in the first quarter. I get that, but it was all set to do that. It was there, except they couldn't really make shots. You know, they made 6 of their first 14 threes, which is certainly not bad. But even then, you felt as you were watching that like, hey, man, this should be a much bigger lead. Like the Rockets came out of the first quarter up by 5, and it felt like they should have been up by much more. They just didn't have it in that way. And then the third quarter came, and the Warriors been doing this damn thing to people in the third quarter all season long. They are basically, I think they're +5 in the postseason. Quarters 1, 2, and 4. They're up plus 100-something in quarter 3. They just blow people out in the third quarter. It is bananas what they do. I don't know if it's a matter of adjustments. I don't know if the Warriors' superior conditioning, and they have been superiorly conditioned to the rest of the league during this stretch. I don't know if that's what got it done for them. Like, I don't have a great answer for what it is, but the third quarter, they come out here and they just blow everybody's doors off. And as they blew those doors off, the Rockets were like, man, let's see if we can miss the most threes anybody's ever made before. James Harden missed more threes in this series than any player has missed. And I think that in large part has to do with the fact that the Rockets are trying to put up more threes than anybody else ever has. But they missed 27 threes in a row. They missed 29 of their last 30 three-pointers. 29 of their last 33 pointers. And this goes in some combination on James Harden and Mike D'Antoni. Now, part of it with James Harden is the fact that we got to decide whether these cats are superstars or not. Because the way I see it in the league right now, we really only have one superstar that we treat like a superstar, and that's LeBron James. Right, that's the one guy that has to bear the responsibility of if you lose, it's going to be on you. And even we wavered on that to a degree with LeBron because he's been carrying around scrubs for a long time. But we don't treat Steph Curry like a superstar. We hail him as a superstar. We do not criticize him as we do superstars. Kevin Durant took him 10 years to get to a ring, and not once did he get to the I don't know if this guy has it in him point. That comes to guys. Okay, now Russell Westbrook, we scrutinize him like a superstar. Yeah, like he gets that. James Harden with the $200 million shoe deal, and who has gotten the team this far, who maybe should have been the MVP last year, who will probably be the MVP this year, is not a dude that's been scrutinized in the way the superstars are typically scrutinized. Hey, man, you go 2 for 13 for 3 in this game and just keep missing them over and over and over and over again. You got to own some of it. But the reason I'm inclined to leave it at some is, did they get any easy shots other than Capella? Capella seemed to be the only dude on the whole team that gets any easy shots, and that's because he's getting lobs. Right? They're running switches and doing all this, but they don't get any easy shots. James Harden, even in attempts to make it easy for himself, I feel like makes it hard on himself because he's always trying to do enough to get as many switches as possible to get you a switch on Steph Curry or somebody that you feel like can guard you, and then you go from there. But getting those switches is requiring a certain measure of energy. You're James Harden. You should be able to take anybody they put in front of you. Klay Thompson's a really good defender. He should not be able to guard James Harden. Kevin Durant is a really good defender. He should not be able to guard James Harden. Draymond Green is a really good defender. He should not be able to guard James Harden. James Harden spends all that time trying to cherry pick and get the matchup that he wants and then go from there. And then your whole squad shoot 7 for 44 from 3. 7 for 44. Somebody did the math, and they said the likelihood of a team that shoots three-pointers as well as the Rockets have this season, going 7 for 44, missing all those shots in a row, is what it was. It was missing those 27 shots in a row, is 1 in 72,000. So, yeah, part of that's bad luck. Part of that is this is the way that we play, and we've been doing this, so we're going to ride it out. The other part of it is, as our man Steven Jackson said last week, Gabe, you remember Steven Jackson was going kind of hard on Mike D'Antoni?
Oh, he was going in.
But his big thing was Mike D'Antoni ain't going to make a single adjustment, and he didn't. All you have is some dudes out there tired as hell trying to shoot really hard shots.
Did you hear towards the end of the game when they did like it's time for Inside Tracks presented by Hulu, and they had the little mic next to D'Antoni. He's like, all right, come on, guys. We got to battle him out there in his like West Virginia accent.
Right. What does he have to tell them? Right, he's looking at this. He's like, I don't know what you looking at me for.
He didn't have a damn thing to say. And then he was sitting there with the clipboard, and Chris Paul was like going in on him, you know, and he's just like, oh, you got a battle out there, guys.
Yeah, I made the decision. Y'all got it. That's all I'm doing. By the way, do you know who was like unequivocally the most important player for the Rockets in this series? My man PJ Tucker. Listen to this. My man Florida James came up with these numbers. The Rockets' net rating when PJ Tucker was on the floor was negative 2.8 points per 100 possessions. Not great, right? When P.J. Tucker was off the floor, negative 47.3. When P.J. Tucker was on the floor, they averaged 104 points per 100 possessions and gave up 107 points per 100 possessions. When he was off the floor, they scored 84 points per 100 possessions and gave up 132 points per 100 possessions. They shot 44% from the floor when he was on the court, 34% when he was off. Now, I'd love to know what exactly it is that he's doing, but man, he was going hard. Like, the first half, it was abundantly clear to me the Rockets wanted it more than the Warriors did. And I don't know if the Warriors kind of rope-a-doped them in that way, but it was clear the Rockets wanted it more. And nobody, I repeat, nobody wanted it more than P.J. Tucker did. Nobody did.
Well, then why didn't he rip Ryan Anderson's head off in the third quarter?
You go to jail for that kind of stuff, unfortunately. I think that's what got him in that place. Ryan Anderson, by the way to get out there and earn you $20 million, brother. He got a couple minutes out there. James Harden, last 2 games of the series, 32 points per game. Sounds impressive. 24% from 3, 7 turnovers a game, minus 32. Which concludes a run of closeout games for James Harden since 2015. So let's go backwards. 2017, closeout game, 10 points, 7 assists, 6 turnovers, minus 28, plus minus. 2016 against the Warriors, he had 35 in the closeout game, 7 turnovers, minus 27, plus or minus. 2015 against the Warriors, closeout game, 14 points, and you may recall 12 turnovers in the last game of that series. And look, he looks gassed. Kevin Durant said it. Kevin Durant was like, yeah, man, James is going to have to dribble a lot and he's going to wind up getting tired. And they were gassed out, and that goes on the coach. But before he was gassed, I still felt like there was more that Harden could have done. And Harden got, he paid the price for all the shenanigans that he does, trying to draw those fouls. Because I felt like there were 3 calls in a row where he should have gotten the foul call on the shot, and the refs just did not give it to him. They just did not. I think they were just absolutely conditioned at that point to ignore his nonsense. But there were 3 of them. One of them he made. But I felt like there were 3 of them that he got robbed of, where they caught him on the floor, where they looked pretty clearly to be shooting fouls. Also, by the way, with the Rockets, maybe the best sound that we gotten from the NBA playoffs. Here comes Houston's own Gerald Green, a.k.a. Le Juve, because he legit like juvenile.
Toughest loss you've ever had to deal with?
Yes, sir.
How badly do you feel for your hometown?
Heartbroken.
Can you maybe describe your emotions in one word?
Heartbroken to the fullest. I know I'm drained about this moment. I feel like I failed myself, failed the city. I don't know what to say.
Dude, those questions were so cruel, especially considering it's Gerald Green. Like, it's not somebody that really matters in the course of this. So Gerald Green, Houston's own Gerald Green, it should be noted. And so, okay, can we play that one more time? Because the first question, the dude just hit him with just like, how badly do you feel for your hometown?
How badly do you feel for your hometown?
Heartbroken.
Can you maybe describe your emotions in one word?
Heartbroken.
What a clown move. Can you maybe describe your emotions in more words? If he could have described them in more words, guess what, Playboy? He would have described them in more words. It was like, it gave, you know, it's like just kind of the cavalier tone. Most heartbreaking loss you've ever had?
Almost like he was kind of looking at him with the side eye,
Yeah.
like, hey, was this the worst?
Like,
Tell me about that time.
This is why they hate us, right? Like, I did interviews with Dan Levertard. Dan loved to ask people about the most miserable moment of their lives, but at least he tried to put, like, a tone of feeling in it. That dude did not give him any of that. And then Joe Green hit him with the, you know, how do you feel for your hometown? Forget about my hometown for a second. I was the one that was actually out here hooping. Ask my hometown how bad they feel for me. I'm from here, too. All right? Ask them how they feel for me. Are you kidding me? Can you describe this in more words?
Yeah, usually you have to butter a guy up a little bit before you ask him the hard-hitting questions.
That could have gone a lot worse. I love his response to that. You want more words? Heart broken. How about that? Huh? Heart broken. Speaking of heartbroken, Gabe, how bad do you think Chris Paul feel?
I mean, he looked crushed on the bench. Absolutely crushed.
This is the chance, man. Like, I don't know what a difference he would have made, because he wouldn't have changed the fact that those dudes couldn't make any shots. But how long can we reasonably expect Chris Paul, after 12 years in the league, to stay healthy? Because he was breaking down all year. Like, this is about that time where you start looking at new cars, right? Like, the window, the windshield wiper doesn't want to work right. The seat doesn't adjust in the way that you want it to. Transmission catching a little bit. But when it goes, you know? By the way, here's what Eric Gordon said about this playoff series right here. He thinks it could have gone different.
It's definitely tough because when everybody counted us out before the series started, you know, we knew we had a chip on our shoulder to win this series. And it sucks because you know you could win this series if we just had one more playmaker. You know, just as in Chris, if he was out there, we would have been playing on Thursday.
And you know, the thing about this is, man, I understand where he's coming from, and he's right. These games don't take place in a vacuum. I'm not like a bottom line oriented sort in that way. But let me make those arguments for you, Eric Gordon, because unfortunately when you make those arguments, you sound like a loser. And I'm not saying that you are a loser. You're probably not a loser. You've been very successful in your life. But that's loser talk right there. Y'all had enough to win this. I don't think there's any argument. 7 for 44 for 3. You lost by 9. Y'all had a chance to win this. Eric Gordon was 2 for 10 for 3. You had a chance to win this. That's on y'all, the y'all that were out there. You had a fairly wounded team and a chance to beat them, and y'all blew it. 2 words. Heart broken. And then on the other side, we have the Boston Celtics. I believe their fans are also heartbroken, but they have their Jason Tatum tunk to keep them warm through the night. Jason Tatum punched on LeBron. And look, man, I saw that when he punched on LeBron, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Now this game is getting started, right? Because the Celtics really hadn't played well all night. They couldn't buy a bucket either. But Jason Tatum punched on LeBron. I'm like, all right, young fella, let's go. And then Jason Tatum made a three not long after that, and that was it for the Celtics. They had no more to give. They had provided all they could, and they had no more to give after that moment. And then LeBron and them dudes. Like, I don't know if you know about this, Gabe, but they say that Chuck Berry, when he would perform gigs, he didn't travel with a band. He would just show up and, like, recruit a band in town. That's arrogant, right? Just the idea I can find enough dudes who know my songs that I can just go and pick up a band whenever I show up. And that's basically what LeBron looks like he's done. He just showed up to town and was like, hey, guys, I got a game 7 tonight. First 11 people in get to suit up. And then they get out there and they hoop. And look, as exhausted as LeBron is, like you saw it at the end of that game, man, LeBron's sitting on the ground while the rest of them cats, with the trophy presentation, LeBron over in the corner sitting on the ground. He's gassed, man. And how could you not expect him to be given everything that we're talking about asking him to do? And basically all the things that we're talking about that's going on with James Harden. Now, the Cavs are running more actions and stuff like that, but all that stuff that we're talking about going on with James Harden, LeBron is shouldering a very, very similar load, except he's doing it at like 275 pounds. It's nuts. It is insane. He gave him a full 48, 12 for 24 from the floor, 3 for 8 from 3, 15 boards, 9 assists. You know how hard it is to get 9 assists when you're passing the ball to the rest of these dudes? I'll tell you how hard it is to get 9 assists when you're passing the ball to the rest of these dudes. The rest of these dudes, as the team had the whole team had 15 assists. LeBron had 9. That's 60%. That's 60%. When those dudes are passing the ball to each other, nobody gets a shot. That's what, that is what they are telling you in the course of this. And somehow he brought all these dudes to a championship. All of them to a championship. But hold up. Let me be careful. I don't know if you heard, but LeBron doesn't really like the way that we've been talking about his teammates. Here he is at the trophy presentation.
I know I get a lot of the headlines, win, lose, or draw, whatever the case may be, but in order to be successful, it's a team game. I learned that from when I first started to pick up a basketball to play organized basketball at age 9. So you get all the doubters and people who've never stepped in the arena, who's never played basketball, who's never put on a tank top and shorts, who's never played anything organized, always want to try to kill my teammates. And it's unfair to them. But I'm always stay true to the game of basketball because the game of basketball always stay true to me. And that's why we're going to another finals.
Okay, so LeBron basically called us a bunch of dorks, right?
It's like his version of the Blog Boys, right?
Yeah, like I feel like I'm doing, like when he talked about that time where everybody said he called everybody broke when he said he was going back to his life, but that's not actually what he said, right? We infer that. But I infer that he was calling us dorks right there. He talked about all the people who never put on tank top and shorts. I put on tank top and shorts. All the people that never played anything organized. Most people have played something organized. Like that group of people really isn't that small that that he's talking about. But I played organized ball, and I'm not very good at basketball. I know what it's like. I know what it looks like. And I see 11 of them.
I've always wondered, like, when Bron takes these type of shots, or like when KD took his shots on Bill Simmons' podcast, do they have someone in mind? Like, is there one guy that they just really have a problem with that they're taking a shot at?
What it is, and I'm one of these people, so I want to be clear about that, but I understand their point is that there's so many more people who talk about sports who never encounter the players. Like they're never around them. And so there are for a lot of people that this is just like something academic to study and to run the numbers on and getting back whatever it is, and so the numbers will tell you all these different things about people and him being on the squad. They'll be like, yo, we're a team and the value of team, like that is what it is that he's talking about. But I'm just telling you, man, as someone who's been bad at basketball before, I know what it looks like to be bad at basketball. And that's the rest of these cats you out here with. Like that's who they are. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're better than me. Right? Like they're better than all of us on the street. All of them would destroy us in a game of basketball. I'm not trying to say that they sorry like they sorry like we sorry, but relative to the league that they are in, they are sorry. Like you were in high school watching dudes play high school basketball. You knew who the sorry dude was on the basketball team. And by the way, that sorry dude on the high school basketball team could probably hoop you up, but you knew what sorry looked like in the setting that it was in. And that's where the Cavs are with these dudes that they got out here. They do. Like, LeBron know George Hill is sorry. All them chase down blocks LeBron had of George Hill when he played for the Pacers. You know how excited he was to see George Hill when he came out there? Yeah, JR was good one time, but that one time ain't really right now. Jeff Green, man, somebody else going to fall for this with Jeff Green. I need to see if Jeff Green's a free agent right now, because Jeff Green's going to continue his stretch of continuing to get picked up before the pickup game starts, even though he's not actually good at playing basketball. Them dudes are not good, and he got them to the finals. So, I thought that was really nice of LeBron to be like, yo, y'all gonna stop dogging my homeboys out. I wouldn't have got here without them. And LeBron was like, yeah, well, some of these guys might be new. Dude, they not new to the league. We seen them play in the league before. That's how we know they sorry. We did not draw these conclusions out of thin air about your teammates. But what else is LeBron supposed to say, right? LeBron, you did it again. I got to tell you, man. I mean, I've done it before, but it's never been as hard as it was carrying around all this dead weight. Whew. It feels more satisfying the sorry your teammates are. No, you can't say those sorts of things in spite of the fact that they all appear to be true. I mean, dude, they had an 8-man rotation. And that 8-man rotation included Jordan Clarkson. He's number 8. And by the way, Gabe, Jordan Clarkson, minus 13 in 9 minutes.
Yeah, but he's going to the finals.
He is going to the finals.
Larry Nance going to the finals. Jose Calderon
Kendrick
going
Perkins
to the finals.
Returning to the finals. The dude Zizic that they got into Kyrie Irving trade going to the finals. Rodney Hood going to the finals. And shout out to Kyle Korver, who jumped for the first time in his NBA career, and he'll never do it again because he got banged on. Now, we got two sides to this, right? On one side is the fact that LeBron dragged all this dead weight to get to the NBA finals. The other side is I'm really not here for these moral victories about the Boston Celtics. I'm really not here for the Boston Celtics holding on to that picture of Jason Tatum dunking on LeBron, talking about this is the future. So, in this series, of the top 5 players in the series, how many of them were Boston Celtics? I think you can make an argument that 4 were. Al Horford, definitely. Jason Tatum, definitely. Jaylen Brown, definitely. Now, Terry Rozier is a bit of a trick-or-treat type of player, but Marcus Morris, you telling me the Cavs wouldn't have been better if they had Marcus Morris? Marcus Smart, who, again, I have no idea how to quantify anything it is that he provides, but, hey, check it out, Gabe. Once again, Marcus Smart, 1 for 10 from the field, 0 for 4 for 3. They were +2 in his 31 minutes on the floor. He and Marcus Morris are the only players on the team that had a positive plus-minus. Say what you want about Marcus Smart. He's not good at basketball, but he makes basketball teams good. So I'd probably take him over everybody on the Cavs that played in Game 7, right? Because Kevin Love is his own discussion. But I take him over everybody. How do you lose a game where you got 4 of the top 5 players, maybe 5 of the top 6 players? Tristan Thompson's another one that's tricky to figure out, where you put him on a list like this. But relative to the number of quality players in this series, the Celtics should have won this. Jaylen Brown wet the bed. I don't think there's any way around that one. Jaylen Brown wet the bed. But they had enough dudes where they should have won this game. They should have. And we give all the credit in the world to Brad Stevens for what he's done with this team. So what do you say about what happened with Brad Stevens in the course of this game? You can hold on to Jason Tatum's going to be the future, whatever it is, but they got a lot of the right now. And they were the more talented team in that series in the right now. They did not have LeBron James, but they were the most talented team in this series. And they lost. Somebody got to answer for that, right? In theory. And I get it. Hey, man, the future's coming. Here's one thing that's throwing off their future. I've had a couple conversations with people that lead me to feel pretty confident that the Celtics were really going into this offseason, looking at all the things that they had to offer, and they were like, how do we get Anthony Davis? The answer now is you can't. There's no circumstance under which the Pelicans can trade Anthony Davis after they won a round in the playoffs. They cannot do it. Even if Anthony Davis walks in and says, I'm never going to re-sign here, you cannot trade Anthony Davis after you've won a playoff series. It cannot be done. So who is it that the Celtics are going to turn all these other guys they have into? How are they going to make it happen? Marcus Smart's about to be a restricted free agent. Restricted free agency is about to be really weird this year because that cap spike really threw off the market for what a lot of these players are. Where a guy like Chris Middleton makes $17 million a year, for example, was a byproduct of the spike in the cap. The spike's done. The cap's flattened. And you got all these restricted free agents and not that much cap space. And so these guys are hoping that somebody else is going to sign them to a big offer sheet, but why are teams going to waste their time signing you to an offer sheet if they know your team is going to ultimately re-sign you? You're going to see this all over the league. And Marcus Smart is one of them. When Marcus Smart said that he believes that he is more than a $12 to $14 million player. To be fair to him, yeah, that's about what Robert Covington makes. I see why he thinks that he's better than that. I see why someone would tell him otherwise. I see why they're not going to agree. I don't see how that's going to work itself out.
You wouldn't do it just to spite the Celtics? Like, you wouldn't sign Smart to a big offer sheet just knowing that they were going to match him and it'd mess up their cap?
Well, then what happens if they don't? Right.
Yeah, then you get a Portland-type situation, right?
Yes.
Where you just have a roster full of a bunch of overpaid guys.
Yes, there's one time it was successful, though, and that was when the Detroit Pistons signed John Koncak to a monster offer sheet in the 1980s. John Koncak was a big center for the Hawks. He went to SMU, and he never lived down that contract because it wasn't his fault. Detroit offered it to him, but Detroit offered it to him with the basically being like the Hawks are dumb enough to match. And then the Hawks were dumb enough to match. And then they were stuck with a guy they ultimately called John Contract from then on out. Like, that's your fear that you had there. But I'm sorry. I feel like that team, they had youth. But look, Jason Tatum held his water. Now, Rozier and Jaylen Brown, that's a different discussion. But I still think that is a game that the Boston Celtics should have won. Even with LeBron on the other side, they should have won it. So either Stevens has got to answer for it or some of those players have to answer for it. But I am done with this point of patronizing the Celtics and acting like they don't have players because two guys got hurt. Yeah, Kyrie Irving got hurt. That's the thing. Gordon Hayward's played, a minute and a half for the Celtics this year? It's like he never showed up there. You know who else lost Kyrie Irving? The Cavs. That's who. It's not like the Cavs turned Kyrie Irving into somebody. The Cavs turned Kyrie Irving into this, like, who did they turn Kyrie Irving to that came up in this box score? George Hill and Jordan Clarkson. And that team still won. Don't tell me that, well, we didn't have Kyrie. They didn't have no Kyrie neither. Well, we didn't have Gordon Hayward. Well, that team didn't have Gordon Hayward either. What you did have is a starting lineup with 4 first-round picks, 3 of them who were taken number 3 in the draft. And guys who'd been out here putting up 30s and putting up real numbers in the course of this postseason. Celtics should have won. They lost it, and they should have to answer for that very fact. And now we have the 4th installment of Warriors Cavs that I don't feel like anybody really wants to watch. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Please watch Warriors Cavs on ESPN and stations that are owned by the same people that own ESPN.
Did you see the video that was going around that like CBS put together that was like an old family sitcom, and it was like,
yes.
And here's Kevin Love.
Yes.
And Kevin Durant.
They're all
I would
back.
have played it, but it just doesn't work for audio.
Yeah.
You had to see it to believe
They're all
it.
back. Well, it's interesting though, because like I talked about the Lakers and the Celtics in the 80s before. The Lakers and Celtics played 84, 85, and 87, right? That's how it went down. The Lakers and Sixers played in 1980, 1982, and 1983. Like, you have this where these teams will run up against each other, and the teams evolve as those things go. So, like with Lakers Celtics, for example, there was the transition that was made from that being Kareem's team to being Magic's team. Like that, we had that part happen. Like there's Bob McAdoo and Jabal Wilkes on Lakers teams, and they weren't on those teams anymore. Like, these things change and they move. The Cavaliers quietly have basically run out here, it feels like, with a different team each of the last 4 years by the time the finals came around, right? It all flips, it all goes, but it still feels redundant. It does feel redundant, and the problem with it is it doesn't feel like Cleveland has a chance. Like, if you'd have put Houston out there, now we've got one where we feel like, okay, the Cavs got a chance they could win this. In fact, I would have picked the Cavs to beat the Rockets. I don't think I'm picking the Cavs to beat the Warriors, unless the Warriors are just going to fall apart. Say what you want about these Cavs, I do feel like they're the more cohesive unit right now than the Warriors are. But I don't know how exactly the Cavs are going to be the ones to make this thing happen. I don't see that. One thing the Cavs don't have, by the way, is a PJ Tucker guy. Like, they don't really have that grit and grind sort of guy. I don't know when we're going to get Kevin Love back. I feel like the NFL has fooled us on what it really, like, what the return from a concussion really is. Because these cats in the NFL stay coming back after 1 week, except there are a couple of teams like the Panthers, for example. You're probably not coming back after a week if you have a concussion playing for the Panthers, even if you're Cam Newton. They tend to run those things out. But the rest of the league, man, these cats stay coming back in a week from a concussion. Go look what happens in baseball. Somebody has a concussion. That dude ain't back in a week. Dude's missed like 3-4 months in other sports behind concussions. Kevin Love has a concussion history. And by the way, Kevin Love did himself no favors, nor did our network do him any favors when they caught him on video in the tunnel kind of yucking it up with people during Game 7, right? Like, I mean, if he can play, he is going to play, right? If he can play. But I don't know when it is that he's going to play. I'm not assuming he's going to be ready for Game 1. I'm not assuming he's going to be there for Game 2. Like, we have to be real about this. None of us really have any idea when it is that Kevin Love is going to be able to play. None. So that means it's going to be LeBron and these cats out here against the Warriors. LeBron and these cats I guess they play better defense against the Celtics, though the Celtics seem to be playing a lot of defense against themselves. But do you really think that LeBron and these cats can hold the score down? Do you think they can play enough defense to exploit the way that Golden State turns the ball over? And are they really going to be able to score points? The Warriors don't have anybody that can guard LeBron all the time. Like, their best matchup for LeBron is Kevin Durant. But you can't have Kevin Durant guard LeBron all the time. There's but so much that Draymond Green can do when he is guarding LeBron.
What about Iggy?
I mean, I don't know when he's going to play.
A hobbled Iggy.
Yeah, a hobbled Iggy has no chance. But I have no idea when he's going to play either. With a bone bruise at his age, I got no idea when it is that he's going to wind up playing. But I also don't see any way that Cleveland's going to win this. Like, if somehow the Cavs win this championship, this is the most amazing Herculean feat that we could expect of LeBron. Coming back from 3-1 with Kyrie and Kevin Love, I mean, that was cool. But if he drags these dudes to a championship, you only see that in college, right? Like Danny Manning and that squad he dragged to a championship. Melo in 2003. You don't really see one dude just full-on drag a team the way that LeBron has with this squad.
You already have people ranting and raving saying that this is LeBron's greatest ever achievement.
Yeah, well, okay.
And he's made it to the finals, hasn't quite won the finals.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something to that, right? I do not think, though, that dragging this team where he is at this point is as impressive as being 22 years old and dragging that team in 2007, where you had the 48-point game in Game 5 against the Pistons, who had been running the East up until that point. I don't know if I'm willing to go so far as to say that this is that impressive, but this is pretty damn impressive. Dude, number 2 is Jeff Green. Jeff Green, all we got for Jeff Green is jokes. All LeBron got for Jeff Green is to the finals. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
We know you can't be on top of all the news and information of the day. No need for the social media feeds. We got you. Now, if you haven't heard.
All right, Bomani, story number 1 of the day comes from the tech and consumer products industry, I guess.
Hi, my name's Laurel Wamsley. I'm a reporter at NPR in Washington, D.C. A few weeks ago, a couple in Portland, Oregon got a strange phone call. It was from one of the husband's employees in Seattle. The man on the phone said that the couple's Amazon Echo device had sent him a recording of the couple having a random conversation about hardwood floors. It turns out the couple had their whole house wired with the Amazon devices. But how did this guy end up with a recording of their conversation without their knowledge? Amazon said the Echo device heard a sound it thought was Alexa, which triggered it to start listening for directions. Then its artificial intelligence basically kept misinterpreting background noise as telling it to do a series of things, with the result that it recorded their conversation and sent it to someone in their address book, all without the couple realizing that the device was listening to their conversation, much less sending it to someone in their contacts. Amazon called this an unlikely string of events, which they say they're working on making less likely. But last year, a man in North Carolina said the same thing happened to him. These episodes show a very real issue with these sorts of devices. They're always listening. These so-called smart speakers or home assistants are basically just computers with microphones connected to the network. And as privacy experts point out, that means that they are potentially surveillance devices, which people have installed in their own homes. It's kind of like people are bugging themselves. Danielle, the woman whose hardwood floor conversation was recorded, said she felt invaded, and she pledged to never plug in the device again because now she can't trust it.
Some of us had already considered this. I'm just saying, some of us saw this coming. Stop being lazy and get up and do stuff. Like that's what I got. Now, on top of this, what do you do if your name is Alexa? Does Alexa allow you to change Alexa's name to something else?
What if you even have a dog named
right.
Alexa?
Or just an Alex or whatever, right? Like, apparently it doesn't even have to be Alexa. It figures it out, and then it goes from there. And, like, that could have gone, like, you think about it, if your name is Alexa, and that thing picks up every time somebody hears the word Alexa, it could send something that you really don't want sitting in somebody's address box. And that somebody might be your mama. Like, there's a range of possibilities that are here for this that are just the all bads.
I mean, the steps that it took, right? Sent it to someone in their address book.
Yes.
Didn't just record it.
Yes.
Full on sent it.
Yes.
I mean, and that conversation was about hardwood floors?
Yes.
What if the conversation was about something else?
Yes.
What if it was about something related to work?
Yes.
What if it was related to some sort of crime?
Yeah, that's what I say. What if it's something related to work? What if it's something illegal? What if it was something illegal related to work? Like, all these things can possibly happen.
Could you be liable for that?
I think so. Let me tell you, man, so after you've heard this, are you thinking about buying an Alexa? Like,
No.
that's my question. Like, I mean,
No.
like, and there's somebody out here that's like, damn, I think I'm gonna still buy an Alexa. Like, nah, man, it's a setup.
When I've seen people or met people named Alexa, it just kind of becomes a joke thing where it's like, oh, haha, yeah, my name's Alexa. It's kind of funny. Amazon, da da da. But it's like, no, you are at risk now.
Yeah, no, it's a setup, man. It is a SETUP setup.
All right. Story number 2 of the day comes from the Nation at Large.
Hi, my name is Maggie Kurth-Baker. I'm senior science reporter at 538.com. Today, Starbucks stores across the country were closed for the afternoon so employees could participate in a short diversity training event. But research has shown that not only is that the least effective kind of diversity training, but diversity training itself isn't the best way to deal with discrimination in the workplace. The results aren't much better than chance. Instead, experts told me that what works better are things like special recruitment programs that put minorities and women in management roles, force people from diverse backgrounds to work together, and signal real commitment to change on the part of corporations. Unfortunately, Starbucks isn't alone in doing the least useful thing. Only 15 to 25% of corporations actually do these kind of diversity programs that really create long-term significant changes.
Here's what I want to know. When we going to start getting some leakage of the actual individual sessions, right? Like, I want to know the blow by blow from some of these individual in-store sessions, because they're doing it store by store, right?
I believe it's 8,000 stores.
Yeah, but they're each doing their own.
All today, yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing. There's somebody on that staff that thinks this whole diversity training thing is some nonsense and doesn't understand why their time has to be wasted because somebody acted up at another store. There's somebody who's there, and there's somebody who's going to say something about it. Now, if I've noticed something in my travels at Starbucks is the Starbucks is not always a diverse workplace, but it very often is. But I notice that when there is racial diversity at Starbucks, it is also class diversity that is at play, which is to say that I find that the black people that work at Starbucks and the brown people that work at Starbucks do not live around the corner from the white people who work at Starbucks. They do not. They do not live in the same neighborhoods. They do not interact. And what that tells me is there's the possibility that a lot of these, that in order for them to make progress, somebody's going to accidentally say something wildly offensive and somebody else is going to flash on them. And this is going to take place at a handful of these 8,000 Starbucks. How many friendships do you think this diversity training at the Starbucks is going to ruin?
A couple.
Yeah, like there's going to be some. There's going to be some we can't ever go back.
This is an event that has thousands of occurrences. So the amount of time it's going to take for something to get leaked,
yes,
from the training,
yes,
sessions,
yes,
I'm waiting.
Yes, and look, somebody's going to be in there gung ho about it, like too gung ho, right? I am really excited to get out here and learn about diversity. It is going to be some eye rolls. It is going to be like, so, but I'm just trying to help. Like, this could go a whole bunch of different directions. Kind of like, remember they wanted people to write on the cups to have them start talking about racism? You remember that?
Yep.
Yeah, they're trying their best. They really are. I hope this works out for them. I don't know if it's going to work.
Story number 3 of the day comes from the business industry.
This is Felix Salmon from Slate Money and Slate.com, and I've been looking at Amazon, which has been banning people who return too many items. It just cuts them off entirely. It doesn't allow them to order anything anymore. It doesn't allow them to use Amazon Prime to stream video, nothing. And it does this without any notice. It doesn't tell them, hey, you're returning too much stuff. It just cuts them off. And while it would normally be okay to get cut off from a merchant because you can just go to some other merchant, Amazon is too big. It is too ubiquitous, and it actually causes real hardship for people if they can't use Amazon anymore. So what Amazon needs to do is become more customer friendly. It should take a leaf out of Zappos book, Zappos being the shoe seller which it bought for $1.2 billion, and actually care about customers on an individual basis rather than broadly on a collective basis. Amazon is too big now to be able to make these kind of algorithmic decisions without explaining exactly what it's doing to the people who it affects.
Yeah, I got to say this. Are you people who are making too many returns to Amazon? You got more time than I do, because there's nothing more inconvenient than having to return something to an online merchant. Like, maybe that's just my privilege talking, But like, my mama accidentally sent 2 books to my house that she meant to send to her own house. But, the addresses, get caught in there. And so she hit me and she was like, well, you can just go ahead and resend the stuff to me. And I was like, or I could get on Amazon Prime and I could just send you 2 new books. 'Cause let me tell you what was never going to happen. I was never going to go to the UPS store with her stuff. It was not going to happen. So I'm amazed. Like, there's nothing, and I guess there's nothing really I order from Amazon that I ever want to return. Like, is that ever your thought when you order from Amazon?
I mean, it says quite a bit about your personality and your, I guess, ability to kind of decipher what works and what isn't going to work for you. I mean, I'd be interested to know for some of these people what they're buying, right?
Yes.
And what they're trying to return. Like, oh, this set of mugs just really isn't doing it for me, so I've got to return it.
Yeah, like, I guess I don't order things from Amazon that I ultimately want to return. Like, I think there's going to be a shower curtain at my house when I get there. I don't think I'm going to crack that thing open and be like, nope, back to where you came from.
Yeah, because, I mean, I can't imagine someone would be buying something. You know, there are people out there that get enjoyment out of that, where it's like, oh, I bought something, broke it, and then returned it.
Yes.
Just the cycle just keeps continuing.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'm not above doing that with like a shirt. You know, I got somewhere to go tonight. You know, I'm not really. Yeah, I'll do that. I mean, I used to do that. I don't do it no more. But I wouldn't.
The Bo party shirt.
Oh yeah. Look, man, I was broke for a long time. You know what I'm saying? Like, it take a long time for me to take a tag off something because I never knew when I need to convert that thing back into legal tender. But yeah, I'm not getting any of those things off of Amazon.
At what point in time do you think that a market begins for one-time use clothing?
Well, I mean, people have that, though, like Rent the Runway, like for women more that, you know, like Rent the Runway on dresses and stuff like that. There's a tuxedo service now.
Sure, but like mass produced, like, I want one shirt from Ralph Lauren for one-time use, and then I'm going to send it back.
Nah. I need to feel like this shirt ain't never been worn before. Now this has me worried how many times have I bought a shirt that's actually been worn. Ugh.
Hey, this is Bomani. You have reached the right time voicemail. Say whatever you want. Get creative with it. But this is your place to talk back to the show. So talk back. Peace.
All right, so we put out for a music AMA, and the response was fantastic. We got a large number of questions. I tried to whittle it down to the best ones, the ones that were the most coherent that I thought it would get a decent response out of you, Bo. Here is number 1.
Hey, Bomani, it's Joy from South Carolina. I am a subscriber to the right time. I've been listening to you, gosh, I think the last couple years. I'm so glad you're back. I did have a question since it's a music edition. I know that you talk about liking the rappers from the 90s, the Outkast, since you were in the AUC Center in the late 90s. But I would like to know, who is one of your favorite female rappers from the 80s or the 90s? I'm a big MC Lyte fan, Queen Latifah when she was rapping, Moni Love. Thank you, Bomani.
You know, one thing that's interesting about that question is I've had a realization in the last couple of years that I do not listen to a lot of women, period. Like, not just in rap. And I think a lot of people, you go through your collection, you might accidentally realize this. And part of that for me was that I was like such a 90s rap dude. I was in no R&B, no none of that, man. I was just listening to rap, right? But female MCs from the 80s and 90s, I feel like that list starts with Lauryn Hill and then we put everybody else beneath it. And a lot of lists of rappers start with Lauryn Hill and then you put everybody behind it. Lauryn Hill, I believe that if Lauryn Hill would have quit, that kept rapping and decided that rapping was the thing that she wanted to do, we would have probably ended this saying that Lauryn Hill is the greatest rapper of all time. Like, I think Lauryn Hill is that good. And we actually scheduled Lauryn Hill to come in here to talk about it, but this is going to shock you. She's already an hour and a half late.
It's interesting that you bring up Lauryn Hill, because another one of the questions I was going to use was someone asking kind of what happened to Lauryn Hill's career.
I mean, what happened to her career is actually not that complex. She put out the super duper popular record. I don't love it as much as other people, but it made all the moves and everything. And then her personal life went a bit awry. And then did you ever watch her Unplugged?
I didn't.
It's a little weird, right? She is like rapping all over the place. Like, she is killing it. But if you watch it, she's singing songs and crying while she's singing them. And the songs are about, I think Rohan Marley's who she was dealing with at the time. The songs are about him, and they show shots of him standing off stage with like his arms folded. And then the last song I'll never forget is this heart-wrenching song. And then he comes out of nowhere on stage and starts playing the congas. Like, while she, so like, what happened to her career? She happened. He happened. It all happened. That's what happened.
Our second listener question of the day is right here.
Yo, Bomani, this is Wayne Bryant. My question is, so Drake just released this Doobie freestyle going at Pusha T, and all over the internet I'm seeing people comparing it to Ether. How do you feel about everybody trying to compare these rap beefs and rap battles with Ether and Nas's work? Peace.
All right, so here's the thing. I don't think Ether is that good. Like, I'm a Takeover greater than Ether person, and I thought the Ether, in large part, sounded whiny and childish, you know, and there's a lot going on there. I don't love Ether in that way. This Drake song is not Ether, though, and it can't be Ether because Ether is so angry. Like, this Drake joint against Pusha T, what do you call it, Duppy? It's dope. Like, I think he got Pusha. Like, if I got to listen to Infrared versus Duppy and, like, who got whom, it's Duppy. Infrared, I feel like I'd heard all those arguments before. Drake recycled some stuff there, but I feel like he ran through your whole crew. He ran through your entire crew. He talked about how, well, granted, Pusha T and Kanye are the same age, but still, he's like, yo, you're running behind this dude. That dude's like your daddy now. Like, he killed him. But no, it's not Ether. Ether is a completely different type of song than this is. But, you know, I don't love Drake. I'm not in the demo. I'm not at that age to be respecting this. Y'all let Drake be the number one dude in the game, and that's fine. That's fine. But I'll say this for Drake, man. What happened to Drake is now 31 going on 32 years old. Like, Drake's a grown man now. He wasn't grown before. He's a grown man now, and he's a little tired of y'all testing him when the way he sees it, all he's over there doing is minding his own business. So, like, if you think Drake a sucker, okay, cool, but Drake being a sucker minding his own business. Like, why can't he be a sucker over there on his own time? Appears to be the way that he looks at it. And then when he gets tired of you calling him a sucker, he comes out and stops being a sucker. Even though I have no idea who wrote the song. None.
Our last question of the day is right here.
Hey, Bomani. This is Jonathan. I was just curious who some of your top songwriting teams are throughout pop music history, you know, duos, trios, etc. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it.
Hey, man, songwriting teams. I mean, do we count Drake or whoever he be writing stuff with? Does that make the list? Can we do that? Okay. So, like, the easy answers are, like, the Lennon McCartney, the Gamblin' Huff, the Holland Dozier Holland. Like, those are the easy ones to point to. But I feel like great songwriting teams are not that plentiful. Like, there aren't really that many that you could point to as, like, pairs of guys who have written pairs of people, rather, who have, like, written a lot of great songs. Like, that was not that easy. But I've been doing this OJ's thing a lot lately. I've basically gotten all the prime OJ stuff on vinyl lately. And Gamblin' Huff really, like, that is an amazing combination of a songwriting pair that looked at a set of vocalists and was like, you can make all our visions come true. You can make all our dreams come true. Any kind of song we can possibly come up with, you can bring out the best in it. And they do it over and over and over and over and over again. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here on The Right Time. We do this thing here 2 times a week. My man Gabe Bassain handles everything behind the scenes. Thank you, sir. Thank you to Laurel Wamsley of NPR News. Check out Amazon's Echo snooping on you and sending your conversations out to people at NPR.org. We've got Maggie Kurth-Baker. She's a science writer at 538.com. Check out her story about Starbucks and their attempt at diversity training at 538.com. And also Felix Salmon of Slate and the Slate Money Podcast. He's got a story about Amazon banning customers from making too many returns. Check that out at Slate.com. Thanks to all the people who chimed in with their AMAs. Don't forget, check us out at the Apple Store. Rate, review us. We would like 5 stars. You could give us 4 stars, but why hate? Thursday, my man Pablo Torre will be joining us. I got a TV show that starts on June 4th. We'll talk to you guys about that and other things. Take it easy.
Thanks for checking out The Right Time with Bomani Jones podcast.
You can listen or subscribe on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
The Right Time
with Bomani Jones.